Hello, my name is Ahmed Elsharkawy from Guangzhou Institute of Science and Technology. I am a part of Human-Centered Intelligent System Laboratory. Today, I'm excited to share with you our latest work, SyncVR, Synchronizing Your Senses to Conquer Motion Sickness for Enriching in-vehicle virtual reality. The inclusion of virtual reality technology for passenger in a moving transportation allowed them to engage with immersive and large-scale digital content and making travel time productive and highly enjoyable. Virtual reality will allow passenger to engage in various activities, including attending virtual meeting, accessing educational content, or simply enjoying entertainment options such as movies, games, or virtual tours. However, with the great advantage of using virtual reality, it can be also a source of motion sickness due to its inherent requirement to block any visual input from the real world. Usually, motion sickness feeling arises from the visual vestibular mismatch, where the eye perceives motion that contradicts signal from the balance sensor of the inner ear. Visually immersive virtual reality content that align with the physical vehicle motion can reduce visual vestibular mismatch. Here we can ask ourselves, can visual cues enhance the presence and mitigate motion sickness for all applicable real-world driving scenarios? Actually, real-world driving experiences are complex and involve many sensory inputs beside visual cues, such as vestibular cues, the body sense of balance and motion. For example, the feeling of being pushed back into the seat during acceleration or leaning to one side during a turn. Haptic cues, the sense of touch. For example, the vibration and jolts through the passenger seat and bodies when driving over a bumpy road. Proprioceptive cues, the body awareness of its own position and movement. For example, bracing against the seat during a sudden brake. And lastly, auditory cues, sound experienced during driving. For example, the sound of screeching tires of a rapid deceleration. Factors such as unexpected jolts, vertical displacement, and varying acceleration pattern, challenging the effectiveness of visual matching. Therefore, exploring the best technique to mitigate motion sickness, particularly in real driving scenarios that include turns, speed bumps, and sections required abrupt deceleration, stops, acceleration is crucial. Accordingly, we can redefine the source of motion sickness in the scenario of using virtual reality inside a moving vehicle as follows. Motion sickness can largely be traced back to the misalignment between the sensory inputs originating from a digital system like a virtual reality and those arising from the real-world surroundings, in our case, the moving vehicle. Our framework, SyncVR, is designed to enhance the in-vehicle virtual reality experience by synchronizing passengers' sensory input with the movement of the vehicle. In our experiment, we invited 24 participants to test 4 distinct experimental conditions, each characterized by the same driving events known to induce motion sickness, including inconsistent motion events, turning events, and vertical displacement events. However, within each of these conditions, participants will undergo varying degree of sensory synchronization. By comprehensively analyzing the relation between sensory alignment and motion sickness, we aim to offer valuable insights into the enhancement of in-vehicle virtual reality experience for passengers throughout their journey. The experiment setup within our vehicle include electrical supply sources, processing units, vehicle tracking sensor, depth camera, and motorized electrical muscle stimulation. The participant experienced attaching MetaQuest 2 headset, E4 wristband, and electrical muscle stimulation electrodes to their bodies. For condition 1, the baseline, present disparity arises between the physical vehicle's movement and the visual input perceived through the head-mounted display. In condition 2, the visual cues only involve a congruent visual input aligned with the actual vehicle movement, combined with engaging auditory stimuli. And for condition 3, the visual cues and interaction, it involves a congruent visual inputs aligned with the actual vehicle motion, augmented by the interactive virtual scenarios and engaging auditory stimuli. And for the last condition, the sync VR condition, visual cues plus interaction plus electrical muscle stimulation or haptic feedback. It involves a congruent visual input synchronized with the actual vehicle movement, augmented by interactive virtual scenarios, haptic feedback, and engaging auditory stimuli. For the visual and auditory cues, we introduced an environment where the vehicle tracking feature was enabled and integrated with Unity 3D. We designed a virtual submarine where the participant was seated. The virtual submarine configured to be responsive and synchronized with the actual vehicle movement. This synchronization includes the submarine response to the actual vehicle acceleration, deceleration, vertical displacement, and turnings. Regarding the proprioceptive feedback, we design interactive scenario for inconsistent motion event, sudden stop and moves. In this event, a large virtual wall would gradually descend within the scene, indicating that the navigation path of the submarine would be soon obstructed and the vehicle would stop mandatory. The participant received a visual and auditory cues to interact with a virtual hammer to destroy the wall. Once the wall was destroyed, a large animated shark emerged from behind the wall and crossed directly above the virtual submarine. This event was designed to replicate the abrupt movement often experienced during the real-world driving, adding a layer of interactivity and excitement to the VR experience. On the other hand, turning event, as previous study has shown that tilting head towards the curve center during turns reduce motion sickness in drivers compared with passengers. Thus, our interactive scenarios was designed to encourage passengers to adopt this motion. For the third event, the vertical displacement event, this event was designed to match with the vehicle crossing over a speed bump. During this event, a virtual water turbulence appears in the location of the actual speed bump. A visual and auditory message motivate the participant to grip a virtual handle that appears in front of them. Here, participant perceived a vertical displacement in the virtual submarine, and the action of holding onto a virtual bar prepare their bodies for the shaky motion transmitted from the actual route when crossing the speed bump. The interactions designed for each driving event were not only aimed to engaging users in a specific task, but also to achieve a synchronization between the participant bodily responses informed by proprioceptive feedback and the natural movement induced by the actual vehicle movements. The haptic feedback is achieved through a motorized control electrical muscle stimulation, EMS. We used EMS for haptic feedback to simulate the sensation of handling real objects. EMS induced muscle contractions via peripheral nerve stimulation, simulating physical interactions in virtual reality. The EMS signals are triggered when participants grasp the virtual hammer, steering wheel, or a bar. Thus, EMS aligns with our design goal of delivering tactile sensation and being a tool capable of providing varying level of feedback to the passenger's arm. While conducting the experiment, we recorded some observation. Regarding the inconsistent motion event, observing the upper video, here passengers experienced the vehicle's motion without virtual reality engagement. The lack of anticipatory cues result in uncoordinated body and head movements. Contrast this with the lower video, where passengers are immersed in an interactive virtual reality tasks. The act of virtually breaking a wall with a hammer mirrored the vehicle's stopping motion, leading to more controlled and purposeful movements. In the turning event, when participants were not engaged with the interactive content at the left-sided clip, their natural response was to tilt their head against the turn curve center. In contrast, while engaging with our interactive virtual reality content in the right-sided clip, participants noticeably adjust their head movement and tilting towards the turn curve center. This adaptation aligns with the vehicle actual movement, mitigate the participants' motion sickness feeling. Furthermore, the anticipatory cues embedded within the virtual reality experience regulate the body and head poses of the passengers. During the vertical displacement event, when crossing over a speed bump, passengers who were not engaging with a virtual content in the left-sided clip exhibited uncontrolled body movement. In the right-sided clip, where participants interacted with a virtual environment by grasping the virtual bar, this virtual interaction noticeably steadied their bodies, effectively reduced the intensity of the shaky movement. The general observation gathered this far set the stage to assess the impact of the synchronization of the passenger's sensory input using our proposed framework, SyncVR, on the passenger's sense of presence and motion sickness. For the evaluation, we collected physiological data along with responses from self-reported questionnaire and qualitative interviews to measure various aspects, including motion sickness, presence, perceived workload, and overall preferences. Here are the results of our experiment. The result of presence showed that SyncVR condition 4 significantly increased the participant's sense of presence when experiencing virtual reality in a moving vehicle. The motion sickness assessment was conducted before and after engaging with the virtual reality content in each condition. Participants experienced a higher level of motion sickness when exposed to condition 1 and 2. However, their motion sickness level was almost the same before and after experiencing virtual reality content in condition 3 and 4. Moving to the workload result, it demonstrated that the baseline condition 1, was associated with the highest workload perception. In contrast, SyncVR in condition 4 led to the lowest mental demand and highest performance satisfaction compared to other conditions. After completing all 4 conditions, participants rated their overall preference. The result indicates that they preferred and found SyncVR condition 4 to be the most comfortable option when experiencing virtual reality, followed by condition 3 and condition 2. In our physiological measurement, the heart rate was measured to understand induced motion sickness from each condition. SyncVR or condition 4 was identified as the most comfortable option, and it didn't induce motion sickness or stress compared to the baseline condition 1. Additionally, the statistical analysis of the DA or skin conductance show no significant difference among any of the experimental conditions. For the conclusion of our study, visual cues alone increased presence, but were not sufficient for mitigating motion sickness across driving scenarios. Proprioceptive feedback proven most effective in controlling motion sickness, while haptic cues significantly improve presence. Integrating visual, proprioceptive, and haptic cues in virtual environment reduce motion sickness and enhance overall presence, particularly when synchronized with real vehicle movement. Anticipation of driving event combined with the synchronization of multi-sensory inputs enhance passenger control and comfort in in-vehicle VR experiences. Thank you for your attention, and our paper is await for more details.